All right, so let's look at some of your assignment for today together. I'm not going to do the whole thing because the point is for you to practice analyzing these questions because will have similar questions on your test on Thursday. So I do want to show you that when you have your assignment open in slides, you are going to type down here. You can pull this up to give yourself more space. You can move it how you want, but you're going to type your answer down here. And then on your exit ticket, you're going to have very similar questions. The top part will all be the exact same, but the actual question might be different. So you're going to use the notes that you type here to help you on your exit ticket. So the better you do here, the better you should do on your exit ticket. I'm going to put it in present mode for the video, but you would be typing down here, just so you know. All right, so let's look at the first one together. And it says, the graph below shows the range of water conditions preferred by 3 species of fish in an Ozark stream. Look at the chart above. Each fish has a bar below it, which shows what conditions they live in. Describe the conditions of the water where all 3 fish are able to survive at the same time. So I try to give you some guidance in this bottom sentence. That was me trying to help you. This is an old STAR question. All of these are today. So they just gave you this graph. They call it a graph. It probably doesn't look like a graph to you. So what you would need to first do is understand what this graph is showing you. First step is always, after you read the question, to analyze the chart or graph and make sure you know what it's showing you. So if we let's look at these bottom arrows. The bottom arrows are like a scale. On the left, you have warmer to colder, water with many suspended particles to clear. Flows slower, flows faster. You might not know what water with many suspended particles means, but you know what clear means. And these lines are obviously showing opposites. So if one side is clear, the other side must mean it's not very clear. Suspended particles means there's stuff floating in the water. And then I tell you down here, each fish has a bar below it, which shows what conditions they live in. So species 1, remember they have a range. They have a range of conditions they can live in. Species 1 can live in relatively mild temperatures all the way to colder temperatures. Because the river or the water that they're in is not just going to stay the exact temperature year round. So they're going to have a little range of temperatures that they can live in. Same thing with the clarity of the water. Species 1 prefers to be on the clearer side, and they prefer water that flows faster. Species 2 is very similar, but they have a larger range. Species 3 is like the total opposite. But is there somewhere where all 3 species overlap? If I draw a line straight down from here and straight up from here, there is a section where they all overlap in the middle, where they potentially could live in the same conditions. So at the bottom of this slide, you can see that I'm giving you like some words to use. For example, if it's not warm or cold, it's mild. So I give you the words to use if you want to describe the conditions in the center of these bars. So you are going to describe the conditions where all 3 fish can survive at the same time below in the notes. All right, number 2. A scientist added bacteria in a nutrient medium that could support the growth of the bacteria to a sterilized petri dish. No other materials were added. The graph models the growth of bacteria over time. Okay, so this is from STAR, and this is all that they were given on STAR. We'll read the bottom part in a minute. So let's just make sure we understand what's going on right here. You might not know what a nutrient medium is exactly, But you know that a scientist put bacteria in a petri dish, which is a small little circle dish. It's pretty small. There's nothing in it, clearly, other than bacteria and a nutrient medium. So when you hear nutrient, you should be thinking of nutrients. So you know it's probably some sort of like food, something that can help it live. So let's look at the graph now. The bacteria population starts down here. That means that is how much bacteria is put in the experiment or in the petri dish to start with. This is where you start. This is where you end. Oops. So start with this much bacteria. What is happening as time goes on? The number of bacteria is increasing, and then all of a sudden it stays the same, and then rapidly it decreases until we have no bacteria left. So now that I have an understanding of the graph and the question, I can read what's below. It says reread the paragraph above. We did that. A nutrient medium is a type of food or growth source for bacteria. In your own words, describe what was done to begin this experiment. Oops, it should say. We just need this one. That was like a repeat. So anyways, you are going to describe what is happening in that experiment. So describe the setup, basically. Next, you have the same graph, but this time I want to know why you think, make a prediction. Why did the bacteria become extinct? Why are they all gone? So I give you kind of some hints, but make a prediction for why they are gone. That one's easy. Okay, I'm going to do one more with y'all. This says the graph below shows the percent of seeds from two plant species that sprout when grown in water containing different amounts of salt. So we know that this graph shows two plant species grown in water that has different amounts of salt. The title of the graph is Response of Seeds to Salt Water. This axis says seeds that sprout. This axis says salinity of water. That means how salty the water is. So species 1 begins up here. When there's no salt in the water, almost 100% of the seeds sprout. When there's some salt in the water, even more seeds sprout. But after that, if it gets any saltier, there's a sharp decline in the number of seeds that sprout. If we look at species 2, they sprout pretty consistently with any amount of salt until it gets above 700. And then they also have a sharp decline. So in your own words, describe the trends that you see, which is what I really just explained. Well, describe the trends you see for species 1 and then for species 2. And then how does the amount of salt in the water affect each plant species' ability to sprout? So the last thing you're going to do is describe how salt affects each plant species' ability to sprout. So make sure that you're taking notes in the notes section so that you can use it on your exit ticket.